What's up everybody, my name's Danon and welcome to Ahnestly. So the folks over at BenQ sent over one of their newest monitors, the 27-inch Mobiuz EX2710. And at $300 US, is it worth the pickup? Well, let's get honest. Let me start by saying this is a solid monitor. Everything about it has impressed me so far. It's jam-packed with features, but what's unique is that they've really taken into consideration the user experience to access those features, which is something that I feel like is really neglected in the monitor space. And it's great for gamers, great for content creators. The only drawback though is the price tag. At $300 US, it is definitely more expensive than similarly spec'd monitors out there. So let's go ahead and jump straight into the specs. As mentioned earlier, it's a 27-inch monitor, but it's not an ultra-wide, which means it's going to be taller than all the ultra-wides out there. And after having used ultra-wides for the past 5 years, this monitor just feels big because of the height difference. It just feels like a really large monitor. The downside to that though is because it's only 1080p, all the icons are huge even when scaled at 100% in Windows, and if you were hoping to use that large screen real estate for multitasking, unfortunately because of 1080p, you can only do so much. And again, because it's 1080p, text isn't as crisp or sharp as you like it to, and the closer you get, the more noticeable that becomes. The stand that comes with this thing is actually pretty darn excellent. It's probably one of the better stands that I've seen. It's super sturdy, doesn't wiggle, especially when I jam my keyboard and I type pretty freaking hard. Still don't see any shake. It allows for really smooth, really easy height adjustment, and it allows for a little bit of side tilt, but unfortunately you can't do the full 90-degree, which is a little bit unfortunate because again, the height tilt is really, really awesome. It has an orange accent in the front, which I don't particularly love, and unfortunately you can't take that off, and I don't know of too many setups out there that have orange as an accent, unless you're like an Asus fan or something. I think they use orange in their stuff. So yeah, keep that in mind, but it does have a 100x100 VESA mount if you want to use it on a different stand or monitor mount. The Mobiuz has a 144Hz refresh rate, and that works over HDMI and DisplayPort, and it's got a 1 millisecond MPRT time, and it is excellent. When I play quick twitch games, I don't notice any lag, and what's really awesome is it does all this on an IPS screen, which means you're not going to get any reduced color quality, which we'll get to in a minute. Colors pop, viewing angles look really awesome, and overall it's a very fast and very clean and very beautiful looking picture. It's really awesome. Now this thing offers FreeSync Premium, which is AMD FreeSync's mid-tier level offering, and I don't have an AMD card, so I can't really test that, but it does have a secret G-Sync ability, and unlike the dark monitor, which I tested before, it doesn't have any flickering when you enable G-Sync. The thing is though, G-Sync only works over DisplayPort and not over HDMI. Now one thing that I've noticed when I'm using the DisplayPort is that there is noticeable lag, not when you use the screen, but on boot up. So if I turn my PC on, for some reason, if I use the DisplayPort cable, the screen doesn't turn on fast enough for me to be able to access my BIOS. So, you know, that splash screen that says BIOS push del doesn't work for me. So I have to use HDMI if I ever want to access my BIOS, which is really, really funky. It's possible that it could be my DisplayPort cable, but that doesn't happen on my typical standard Alienware 34-inch monitor. Really quickly guys, I'm trying really hard to grow this channel to 15,000 subs before the end of the year, so please subscribe, like, comment, do all that you need to do. Okay, let's get back to the video. It's fairly bright at 400 nits, and as mentioned before, because it's an IPS panel, color accuracy is pretty darn great. It covers 99% of the sRGB scale, 79% of the Adobe RGB, 76% of the NTSC, and 83% of the P3 scale. Speaking of color, this thing has no shortage of color customization. So starting with the HDR modes. So this monitor is not officially HDR rated whatsoever, but it does have a couple of HDR settings. For the first one, it's got the HDR emulated, which I personally think looks the best. It cranks up your brightness and makes the colors just a little bit more punchy, and it's my favorite. It's got Cinema HDR mode, which I don't know, it didn't make that much of a difference for me. And then it's got an HDRI mode. I think there's like a game mode too. Again, same thing with Cinema. And then it's got an HDRI mode, which is their intelligent HDR, which uses the front sensor to detect ambient light, and then it takes the colors being displayed off the monitor to intelligently create a color setting for you. And I don't know, for me personally, it just seems like all it did was really bump up the contrast, because the darks became darker, but not always in a good way. Sometimes those darks drowned out details that you want to see in some of the shadows. And so yeah, for me personally, I really enjoy the HDR emulated mode to be the best for games and things like that. It's got a light tuner mode, which has a ton of different color presets, which you can toggle through to find out the color setting that you like the best. It's got a color vibrance mode, which allows you to control shadows and contrast to help you detect enemies in dark places. And then it's got a black equalizer, which allows you to brighten up the dark areas without overexposing the bright areas, which is pretty cool. Some of the cooler things that I think it has though is color weakness mode. So if you are someone who struggles with color deficiency or color blindness, I think that's what it's called, it allows you to amp up certain colors or reduce certain colors so that you can see accurately, which I think is really, really cool. And then it's got another feature, I forget what it's called. It's called eye care mode, right? Which is something that allows you to reduce the blue light, and it's really cool. It actually allows you to set different modes. So let's say if your monitor has been on for a long time, after every X amount of time, the monitor will slowly start changing in color temperature so it doesn't cause that strain on your eyes. It's just a really, really neat feature that I really love and I really appreciate about this monitor because it's caring for your eyes, hence eye care mode. Now, I know what all of you are thinking. You're thinking, those are great features, that sounds really great, but I'm never gonna use that because getting into the menu system is like the biggest pain in the butt when it comes to monitors. And I totally feel you, but I do think BenQ solved the problem here, right? This is a really, really clever solution they came up with. So I already mentioned before that they have a dedicated HDR button in the front, and I'll be 100% honest. The only reason why I tested HDR mode as thoroughly as I did was because it was so easy to just quickly toggle through them. So that's really awesome. And on the back, there are only 3 buttons. That's right, 3. That's totally different from like 9 that's on my Dell monitor and my work computer monitors. So the top button is a dedicated input toggler, which is such a big deal because on every monitor I've ever owned, if you want to switch input modes, first you have to open up the menu, then you got to make sure you click the right button that's for input, and then you have to hit the buttons to, you know, climb down the menu to get the right input. And if you get the wrong one, you turn your monitor off. Like, it's like, oh my god. This one is so easy. You just hit that button and you keep clicking until you get to your the input that you want, and you're good to go. So easy. The bottom button is power. Easy, right? And then the middle button is a joystick, and the joystick is done really well. Basically, you can click the joystick to bring up the menu, go right to go deeper down into the menu, hit the joystick again if you want to adjust, that specific setting, and that's it. But that doesn't sound super intuitive, but what's really cool about what BenQ does is that you can set 3 quick items inside of the main menu. So when you first hit the joystick, you can set 3 quick menu items at the bottom, and that allows you to switch those 3 settings without having to dive into the deeper menu. And again, another game changer. It's super thoughtful. I don't know why anybody hasn't thought of this before, but seriously, that is worth squeezing out those extra features your monitor has to offer, because I think you'll actually be able to use them. I mean, it's pretty amazing, and it's good on BenQ that you guys did that. So excellent job. In terms of inputs, this thing has 2 HDMI 2.0s and 1 DisplayPort 1.2. Oh my god, that's really hard to say together. Yeah, it's got those things, and it's got a headphone jack. It doesn't have any USB ports or anything fancy like a switch or anything like that. No power delivery, unfortunately. So it's pretty basic in that port section, but it does have speakers. It's got 2 2.5 watt speakers, and they sound okay. I would say better than other monitors that I've heard, but it's not gonna replace speakers, and you probably wanna get external speakers. Here's what the speakers sound like compared to something like my iPad. In terms of screen quality, I don't notice any screen bleed. I don't notice any IPS glow, which is pretty rare on an IPS monitor, especially of this size. So that's a real big thumbs up. I can't guarantee that yours is gonna be like that, but at least on mine, I don't detect any of that stuff whatsoever. And it's got a bezel-less design, which is pretty common these days, but what's cool about BenQ is that they blacked out their logo, so it's really inconspicuous, doesn't stand out, unlike some of the competitors like Asus and Acer. Their logos are like really annoying. And then all the electronics are in the back, which means that when it comes to cable management, you don't have to manage a power brick on top of a cable. You just have to manage a cable and that's really good. That's a thumbs up. My work monitors all have power bricks and they're really annoying to hide. So my overall thoughts, like I said before, this is a solid monitor, has a ton of features, is super user experience centric, and it's great for so many reasons. Just the problem is that price tag. It's just a little bit too expensive. I go on Slick Deals all the time and I see monitors all the time that are sub $300 that are the same size or sometimes even bigger, the same 1080p or even sometimes QHD resolutions with 144 Hz refresh rate or even 165 and higher refresh rates with the same MPRT time that are sub $300. So the question you need to ask yourself is, do you feel lucky? No, that's the wrong question. The question you need to ask yourself is, do you think that you're gonna play with all these color features? You know, are you someone who find yourself to be color deficient and you want that? Are you someone who's gonna play around with those shadows and black levels? Because if so, the Mobiuz is a solid pickup. But if not, you might wanna look elsewhere, especially with Black Friday coming up. All right, everybody, that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys liked it, of course, give it a thumbs up, comment, do all that stuff. I trust that you guys will. Please subscribe. I'm trying really hard to grow this channel. We love your guys' support. Until next time, everybody, stay safe, and as always, stay honest.